Hi, you're listening to the TL podcast. My name is Thomas Hoang, and I am interviewing someone who seems ordinary, but who is achieving extraordinary things. That is the quest of this interview. Okay, today I'm with Kane Howe. And Kane has been working around me for the last 3 years.
3.5, yeah.
So we do know each other a fair bit, especially I've known him way before he started. So I wanted to interview him because I think that Kane is probably one of these stories where a young kid just walk out from school, try and do certain things, and then decide to get into real estate very early. And now he's 22, correct?
22, yeah.
Yep. He's 22, and to me, he's inspiring. He's successful. So we want to share this with people who are starting real estate now or who's been in real estate and maybe are looking for a little bit of inspiration in order to kickstart their career again.
Yep.
All right? So because we do know each other, Kane, I hope you don't mind, but I'm going to push this conversation a little bit deeper than usual.
Sure. Let's do it.
So, mate, don't stress. It's going to be cool. So, let's start. Tell us a little bit about you.
So, like you said, 22-year-old young man, born and raised Central Coast boy.
Yep.
So, mum and dad are from Western Sydney, originally both born in the Mount Druitt Hospital. They met in a McDonald's. Mum taught dad to be the cash register.
Yep.
Mum thought dad was cute. Dad thought mum was cute. So they've been dating since they were 14 years old.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So everything, like just the full high school sweetheart story. Even though they went from opposing high schools, they were actually competing high schools against each other.
Yeah.
So a little bit of Romeo and Juliet, if you want to call it that. And then they moved up to the Central Coast. I think, if I remember correctly, just because they couldn't afford Sydney at the time, they landed in the Peninsula. And then I grew up in Umina.
Yes.
Spent a lot of my time as a child in Umina. Then we ended up moving to Acreage, now to Rimba. And now been on the Central Coast my whole life, now working in Kalanival. So worked out pretty well.
So tell us a little bit about your professional career. So you started by being a videographer, aren't you?
Yeah, so in high school, that's probably come from Dad. Dad used to work in the Sydney Morning Herald.
Yes.
Well before I was born, because I was kind of born with a camera in my hand because Dad was a photographer back then.
Yes.
So whenever I was doing sports as a kid or racing or playing cricket or playing soccer, whatever it was, there was always a camera there.
Yep.
So I kind of grew up with that. And I liked the idea of getting into video. So throughout high school, I did have regular jobs, but my main source of income was I was a videographer. So I kind of just went around to different film people that videographers, seeing if I could work for them just anything. Like initially it was like an editing role. They would do the film, they would pass me all the footage, then I would edit the footage, and then I eventually kind of worked my way into doing a little bit of the camera work as well, do some weddings, stuff like that. Actually used to do a little bit of real estate work as well.
Yes. And then there was no money.
Then there was no money, then COVID happened. You couldn't get shoots. Don't get me wrong, you kind of could have, if you wanted to, kept going down that route, but I kind of had an inkling that I probably would get into real estate eventually. I think just watching Dad be a real estate agent for all those years and seeing what it did for our family, I kind of knew I'd get into it eventually. And I always knew that I wanted to buy property. I always wanted to invest in property and always knew I wanted to have my money parked there. But then I thought, well, why don't I just go work in real estate? Initially, I didn't actually want to be a real estate agent because, this might sound bad, but I didn't just want to be the guy that just did what Dad did.
Right.
I kind of wanted to go out and do it myself. So initially I was looking into being a buyer's agent, which I'm looking back, I'm glad I didn't do that. Glad you called me up that day and said, hey, Kane, if you want to get into real estate, let's have a chat.
Yep.
And then you offered me a position at Kalanival, and I'm very, very glad I took it, yeah.
Yeah. So just tell me, why didn't you want to do the same thing as your dad? If you really were inspired by what he's achieved, why wouldn't you want to do this, follow the footpath?
I guess I just didn't want to be known as the guy that just got everything handed to him by Dad, because Dad, if for people that don't know me, my dad is, for lack of a better word, he is a successful real estate agent, has a successful real estate business.
Yes.
I didn't want to go work for him, and I didn't want to be known as the guy that just had everything handed to him because of Dad. So I kind of wanted to go out there and make it for myself. Hence why I thought, okay, if I want to get into real estate, I want to buy real estate, like buyer's agent was something that I'd seen a lot on social media. I thought, oh, that might be cool to try and get into. So I did the buyer's agent institute course, did that, had a look into it. I thought, okay, we might give this a crack. And then you called me, and then when you said come work for me, it was just a no-brainer because obviously I've known you for many years and I've seen what you've done for my dad and my family. It was an absolute no-brainer when you said come work for me. I was not going to pass that opportunity up.
Yeah, but there must have been some kind of fears. I mean, you're probably thinking, hold on, what are they going to do to me? No.
Oh, partly. I think you'd be silly if you didn't think that. I know from the years growing up with you as an influence in my life, I think I was 8 years old when Dad opened up his Wisebury franchise. And I knew it was going to be hard, and don't get me wrong, there was definitely like a scratch in my head, like a crap, what am I getting myself into?
Yeah.
But I knew no matter how hard it was going to be, I've always been a big believer that things that are worth it in life aren't necessarily easy.
Yes.
So I can go down and I'm just gonna, for anything, I could buy a block of chocolate that you could buy for $5. Is that block of chocolate inherently valuable? I don't know, because it's quite easy. Anyone can go out and buy that block of chocolate or whatever it might be. You can go and walk down the park. For a lot of people, that's quite easy.
Yep.
But climbing Everest is quite difficult, and that has a lot of accolades to it because it's difficult. The difficulty of something is a direct correlation to how valuable and how special it is. And I knew that would be what it would be like working for you.
Okay. Oh, wow. This is nice. You started same time with your brother.
Yes.
Okay, so what was the talk like between brothers? It's like, man, I don't know. I mean,
in which aspect? In the how would we work together as brothers?
no, how hard it's going to be working for obviously someone who is going to be quite demanding. I mean, as you know,
I don't know if we actually.
I've got a bit of reputation.
A little bit. Big and scary. I don't think we actually really spoke about the aspect of working directly under you as to how hard it would be. I think we knew going into it kind of silently. We didn't really have to talk about it, that we knew it was going to be hard. I don't think we were getting into this career because it was going to be a cruisy career. If I wanted a cruisy career, I would sort of go on and worked at Woolies and pack shelves.
Yep.
So I knew going into it what I was getting into.
Yep.
Now, I didn't know the whole story. I didn't know just how hard it was going to be. And there are obviously things that come up that I was like, wow, like this is what real estate's like. This is what working for Thomas is like. But I kind of made myself a promise that I wasn't going to quit. I wasn't going to be that guy that worked in real estate for a year and then quit. I just wasn't going to be that person. That wasn't what I'd signed up for. I'd signed up to be there and to do it well.
Yeah. Okay. So why do you think that I picked you straight away?
I think that's probably a question for you. I don't know. What did you see in me?
I'm asking you. What do you think?
I think maybe partly because you'd seen me growing up as a kid. Obviously, you know my dad. You know what my dad has built, and obviously there's some traits that my dad has that he's passed on to me. So maybe you saw some values in me, but maybe you also saw maybe a glisten in my eye. I think that I just had that. I don't know if you want to call it the Mongol in me, that I just wanted to do well, and I just had that kind of. I started day one. And I wasn't there to stuff around. I wasn't there to waste time. I was there to do a job. And I was there to do my job well. And I think maybe you saw that in me from day one. That's why you brought me on.
Right.
Would you think that's fair to say?
No, I think that the first part of your story is pretty good. When you look at someone and you see their parents and you see the moral fiber that the parents have, Sharon and Troy, you know straight away there's going to be a very good set of values bottled inside the child. And so that's why it was a no-brainer. When you look at the parents and you see people who don't know how to behave themselves and who've got the wrong values, chances are they have already contaminated their children. So I know that you had a bit of arm wrestling with your dad every now and then, but deep down...
I think we still do.
Deep down, you're still there with the great values of your dad. Now, what is your success formula?
I think my success formula is what you told me to do, as much as sometimes this might come back to bite me when you show me this video one day and you go, see, do what I tell you to do. But really, I just did what you told me to do. And that was essentially it. I think if you want to, one of the great things that I took from you is, if you want to go be the best Formula One driver in the world, you don't go talk to a soccer player. You go talk to Lewis Hamilton, or you go talk to Max Verstappen. You go find someone that has done what you want to do, and you just do what they say.
Yep.
And you say it all the time that if you had a Met centre who's plastered all over your wall and who you were quite fond of, if you had a Met centre and you wanted to be a Formula One driver, you would be calling him every 15 minutes saying, hey, do this. And if he told you to sweep the shop floor a certain way, you would sweep the shop floor a certain way.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think that was really the credit to my success so far. Not saying that I'm quite successful, but I don't think I've anywhere near made it to where I want to yet. But for the success that I've seen at this early part of my career, I'd say it's 100% up to you.
Yeah. Success is a journey.
And Cam, my other leader.
Yeah. Success is a journey, but you've got the right formula already. And so it's about, you can't expect the success of someone who's done it for 2 or 3 years to have the same success as someone who's done it for 20 years.
Yeah, agree.
Right? That would be like you starting to drive now to Noosa versus someone who's driven to Noosa 10 hours ago.
Yeah.
But then you expect to be there before them. I mean, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have diabetes.
I do, yes.
Correct?
Yeah, type 1.
Yep. So what is type 1? Is it deadly?
So it depends on how you manage it, I guess. So type 1 diabetes is an autoimmune disease. So it's very different to type 2 diabetes. I'm not a doctor, so don't quote me for any...
No, but you can talk about what you have.
But I can talk about my experience, right? From my understanding is type 2 diabetes, which is the most commonly known one, is when people are insulin resistant, which come from lifestyle choices or whatever it might be, or some genetic makeup as well, where your body produces insulin, but you don't... your body doesn't accept that insulin and process the sugars that you then eat. For me, type 1 diabetes is my body doesn't produce any insulin. So type 2 diabetes is you produce it, but your body doesn't accept it, from what I understand. Type 1 diabetes, I produce no insulin at all. And insulin is, you need insulin to survive. So I am insulin dependent. When I was 16 years old, I got diagnosed on the flip of a switch. My life completely changed. I got told that my life was never going to be the same. And I've been on insulin every single day since then, and I will be for the rest of my natural life.
Yeah. So what the reason I'm asking that is that early in the piece you were really someone who were prospecting constantly, and you went door knocking many times in the heat and long hours. Do you want to tell us like a story of something where you almost died?
I think there's been a couple, probably more than I've even told you, but. There's been plenty of times where anyone who's out there who's watching that has diabetes would understand that it's a knife's edge sometime between low blood sugar or high blood sugar. We have a range that we have to try and stay between as much as we can, and exercise can affect each person differently in the type of exercise that you do, but I find, at least for me, low intensity, long time period exercise would drop my blood sugar.
Okay.
And I'd go out door knocking and I'd just have all these low blood sugars, and I'd be sitting there and I have to try and get back to the car so I can get back to my jelly beans or whatever it is. Just sit in the car, especially in the summer. When I first started, I didn't have any money, so my car didn't have an aircon, so it'd be hotter in the car than it would be outside. I'd just be trying to stuff my face full of as much sugars as I can, just so I can then get back out there and keep door knocking.
Yep. So here's the issue, right? Some people will say, whoa, this is crazy. So you could have gone, this is not for me. I can't go and do these things. And then remember, we had a conversation.
We did, yeah.
Yeah.
I do remember this conversation.
Do you want to share that conversation?
So I think I can't remember exactly what it was. This is almost 4 years ago now. But we were talking about door knocking, and I sort of made a comment. I was like, I've been struggling a little bit with my diabetes. And he said something along the lines of, you know what, Kane, many people don't have diabetes and still won't do this. And you can, in 10 years' time, stand up on a stage and say, I had diabetes, I had all these things that I had to deal with, but yet I still did it, and I didn't use it as an excuse, I used it to empower me.
Yes.
And don't use it as an excuse. And that really stuck with me and still has to this day. I don't use it as an excuse. I don't see myself as any different than any other person out there at all, ever. Yeah,
well, that was the first moment when you truly inspired me.
Yeah.
Because I was just feeding you some crab, and and I couldn't believe that you made it happen. And so that to me will always be a story that I will take to my grave, probably, in terms of someone who's achieved something and is inspiring, even though they have an illness that could be life-threatening.
Yeah.
You know, and that shuts down many of the excuses that people have when they don't have a life-threatening disease, or illness. Yeah. So how do you recall, what do you recall your first year to be like?
So just on that diabetes point, just for a second, I think you're exactly right that a lot of people look to some things for excuses. The quest for an excuse, I think, is always successful. It's one thing that you taught me that's really stuck in my brain as well.
Yep.
But I have a good friend of mine, his name's Brad. Brad's in a wheelchair. And I look at myself, okay, I'll give myself a needle 6 times a day, or I'll have an insulin pump now that does it for me, but what do I have to complain about when Brad can't walk? Or my mate, who I'm quite fond of, he can't work the job that I can because he can't get his wheelchair upstairs to go inspect properties. So what excuse did I have when there are people out there that had it way worse than I did? I can't sit here and say, oh, well, I had to eat 6 jelly beans so I could keep going. That's not something that I think is...
That's very nice.
That's worth an excuse to even tell someone when there's people out there like that.
Yeah. Is that why you just go out of your way to have an accident to try and break both legs so that you can be in a wheelchair?
Yes. That was the other thing. Like, even people that don't know much about me, I love my sports. I like my sports. Grew up playing cricket a lot. And big sport for me is motocross. Love dirt bikes. So I got diagnosed when I was 16. And they told me you might not ride again. They told me a couple of things I couldn't do, which was skydive, scuba dive, any sort of like really dangerous thing you shouldn't do. When I got diagnosed, I got put in hospital for a little bit.
Yeah.
And I asked them about riding. I said, "Can I ride?" And they said, "Look, probably not." And right then I was like, "Well, that's not happening. There's no way that's not happening. I think if there's a will, there's a way. I'm going to find a way to do it. I'm not going to let any excuse stop me, so I will find a way."
Yep.
And I still ride to this day.
Yeah, no, but you just broke a leg. It's mending, right? So I see you now. Yep. First time walking without a crutch. So we will go back there. Okay, I was just trying to bring it in because of the wheelchair stories.
Yeah.
So let's go back here. What was your first year in real estate like? You had to prospect mainly, correct?
Yeah.
All right.
Prospect. So my first year in real estate was I was put on as a benchy for Cam, and it was essentially my job was we just opened up the Kalani Valley FSU, and Cam had me, my brother at the time, Connor, and we had this one other lady that worked with us that started with us. She wasn't there for too long, but our job was to prospect and to find leads for the business who just opened up. And so I had a very strict outline of what I had to do. My job was I had to contact 150 people a day. And it wasn't like hey, you're not going home until you contact 150 people a day, but it was hey, you got to contact 150 people a day. You got to do what you got to do. So I would either cold call or door knock until I got 150 people a day.
Yep.
I wrote 5 thank you cards a day. I dropped those 5 thank you cards a day, and I had my next call dates, and that's all I did.
Yeah. That
was essentially my first year in real estate. It was very rare for me to go to an open home or to do a buyer call or anything like that. I wasn't allowed to talk to buyers for the first little while because my job was prospect and lead generation, essentially.
Mm. So did you think it wasn't fair back then? Or do you still feel that way? It was harsh?
No, I don't think it, looking back at it, I'm very glad it was that way. At the time it was because my brother being probably, what's he? I think he's 6-8 years older than me, somewhere around there, 7 years older, something like that. He sort of developed a little bit quicker than I did. At the time it was like, oh, well, I want to be a listing agent. What do I have to do to be a listing agent? I want to be a listing agent. But at the time I understood that now I understand that I wasn't ready then. And you guys had that sight that I couldn't see. You don't know what you don't know, right? And I remember thinking, oh, well, I want to do this, and I want to sell properties, and I want to talk to buyers, and I want to list. I really want to list. What do I have to do to list?
Yeah. But
you helped me understand that, hey, it's a journey. When you're ready, we'll tap you on the shoulder, and we want you to be that, but we'll come to you when the time's right. And until then, just listen to us and just do what we say, and we will get you there.
Yeah. But how hard is it for a young kid who's highly impatient?
Yeah.
To even pay attention to what an older dude says.
So, yeah, I am impatient.
Yeah.
I think in a way, it's a good thing. In a way, it's a bad thing because, in a sense, my impatience comes from my drive. That I want this, so I'll go get that. I won't stop till I go get that. But I had a lot of respect for you from watching you build my dad's business and therefore our family and what we had. And I knew that you had a vision for me. We spoke many times about it at the start that you had a vision for me. I wouldn't know the whole vision, and you probably still have a vision for me with many things I don't know about, but you would reveal them to me as time goes on when the time was right, when I could take that on board.
Yes.
And I just had complete trust in you that you were doing the right thing for me.
That's nice. That's nice to say. Now, what do you do outside work these days?
So, first of all, my partner, Erin. Hi, Erin.
Yep.
Love her to bits.
I was going to ask that question
Yep.
next. You can see it.
It's on the board.
Yeah, it's on here.
There we go, Erin. So, my partner, Erin, she's a lovely, lovely woman that I met actually door knocking.
Yeah.
That's a good story. If you
That
wanna
was
know
the
that
day when you won the lottery ticket and she lost.
that was a very good day. The long story short, I was knocking on her parents' door for a while, and we met through that, and we just kind of got to chatting, and it went from there. So prospecting will change your life. Anyone that's out there wanting to get in real estate. So first of all, I spend time with her. She's absolutely incredible to my career and to my life. She's well and truly the better half of me. So I would not be the person I am, the man I am, or the business person I am, I guess, without Erin. When I have a crazy day at work, or I've got something going south at work, or even when I have something going well at work, I come home and she's my rock. So we try and dedicate a day together each week. Sometimes it doesn't happen just with work commitments or whatever it might be, and she has a lot of work commitments as well. So we'll try and dedicate one day together each week. And before I broke my leg, it was one day of riding each week. So I'd try to take 2 days off a week if I could. It would be a Sunday would be my riding day, and then a Monday would be Erin and I's day, and then if I had work on that day, it would be between us hanging out or did what I had to do, but also made sure that we then had the time together as well.
Yeah, because people also need to really understand, you don't just ride a bike for fun. You're doing it competitive level.
Yeah,
Yes.
competitively race, yeah.
Well, so we don't want to go too much into detail, but so how does Erin cope with the constant selling mindset of yours?
I think you probably have to ask her that, actually.
Well, I may, but right now, you would know. How does she cope? Does she tell you to shut up sometime, or?
No, I wouldn't say so. She is, I would say 1 in a million, but I don't think 1 in a million justifies it. Maybe 1 in a billion probably doesn't even justify it. I've never met a human remotely close to Erin. She's unbelievably selfless and just the rock in every sense of the word emotionally. So I say, hey, unfortunately I have to do this for work. She's, okay, great, go do it. She's never once said to me, hey, Kane, can you be home tonight at this time? She's, no, okay, I understand you have to do what you have to do, and we can have our time when we get time. So in a sense, she's all in for it. She's more than happy for me to do anything I need to do. Yeah.
That's amazing.
I think you need to interview her before you interview me. I think people would have a lot more to learn from her than they would have to learn from me.
I'm sure I will. I'm sure I will. I think it's a great idea. Now let's go back to your first year.
Yep.
How did you organize your day?
So I would generally, at the time, we started Killarney Vale, but we hadn't opened up the office yet because of COVID. We couldn't really get into the office. But we had the Carryong office, which Kim also owned. So I would start my day in Carryong. Usually I'd get there at 7:30.
Yeah.
Somewhere around there, and I'd train. So I had the training manual there, and my goal at that time was that was my Bible. That was my scripture. I needed to know that book as well as you knew that book. And what was one of the things you said to me was, my goal is to be a listing agent. If you want to be a listing agent, it's much like a Formula 1 driver. If you want to be a Formula 1 driver, you don't learn to drive a Formula 1 car the first day you hop in a Formula 1 car. You have to know how to drive that Formula 1 car before you ever step foot into that Formula 1 car.
Yes.
So I needed to know that like the back of my hand. So every single day I'd get in there at 7:30 a.m. and I'd train usually with my brother at the time, Connor, or just whoever was there, whoever I could. And if no one was there and Connor couldn't make it, I'd just train by myself. I'd just revise notes and I'd role play it, video record it, watch it back. Okay, my intonation's bad there, my body language is bad there. I know you got some of the words wrong there, that comes across wrong, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Do that till 8:30 and then I'd take quick break, and then 8:45 I'd start prospecting. If I was in the office at Carryong, I'd start cold calling, put my head down, and I'd cold call till 12. Would not lift my head until 12. Like I might run to the bathroom or whatever it might be, but unless I was dying, I would not lift my head until 12.
Yep.
I'd try and get 50 cold calls by 12. Sometimes I didn't reach it, but it was very rare in the first year if I didn't reach 50 calls by lunch because they were all cold calls for me at that point. Now I'm doing warm calls at this sort of point in my career, so reaching 50 by lunch isn't always going to happen. But at that point in my career, you'd probably see a shooting star more than you'd see me not reach 50 by lunch.
Yep.
Then from lunch to probably 12 to 12:30, whatever, I'd just have lunch, whatever it might be. But then I'd generally be working while I was eating, just doing CMA reports or whatever. So I'd be making all of Cam's pre-listing packs for the appointments I'd send him out to. Then I'd make all my packs, and then generally that time then I'd drive out to Killarney Vale, and I would go out and door knock all around Killarney Vale all afternoon. So from kind of 1:30, 2 o'clock, I'd door knock. Probably 2:30, 3 o'clock, I would really pick up because that's when school pickup time is and everyone kind of gets home from school, 3:30 onwards.
Yeah.
And then in summer, it wouldn't get dark till kind of 7, 8 o'clock, so I'd door knock until I hit. If I was door knocking, probably at least 100. Like, I would not ever entertain the idea of going home before 100. That would be suicidal. But if I was cold calling, it'd be 150, and I wouldn't stop till I get 150. And kind of you gave me the rule that I had to stop calling at 7 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
And I was allowed to call past 7 o'clock because I would keep calling. And you didn't know this, but many times I would keep calling past 7 o'clock at night. So I got my 150, or I'd just door knock until it kind of went dark. And then I would have my 5 thank you cards. And I would go drop all my 5 thank you cards. Then I would go home and go to sleep and repeat.
Yeah. So a lot of people will look at this and say, hold on, I mean, that's a lot of hard work and you do this day in, day out. So how do you overcome the boredom or the monotony of doing day in, day out the same thing?
Good question. I don't know if I ever got bored with it. No, that's not true. In a sense, yes. It was, hey, I really want to list and I really want to sell. But at that time, I was just so determined to be a listing agent that I was just going to do whatever it took. I wanted to list and I wanted to sell.
You had a goal.
I had a goal, and I had a very well-defined goal at that time that I wanted to be a listing agent. So in a sense, it almost didn't matter to me because I could see I'm doing this because I want to get to this, and you just had a plan set out for me and I just did that plan.
Yeah.
So there were definitely times that I got over it, I guess, where I was like, prospecting again.
Yeah.
I'm prospecting again. But then I kind of had the mindset of each street I went down in Killarney Vale, every single street. So let's say I went down Bass Avenue or whatever it is. So I've got a property in Bass Avenue on the market right now. We know in our area, 1 in 100 people are selling. 1 in 50 people are kind of thinking about selling. Bass Avenue has 72 houses in that street. So I know at least one person in that street is selling or thinking about selling. So my job is every single time I enter a new street, there's someone thinking of selling in this street. I have to go find them. And if I knocked on every single door and I didn't find them, they weren't home today. Okay, I'm going to have to go back next week or next month or whatever it is, and I'm going to find the ones that weren't home today because they're selling and I need to talk to them. Wow. And I just do that every single street.
Wow.
That was my mindset around it.
Now, so I think you just said it. I think having the goal to be a salesperson.
Yeah.
And maybe also having the competitive mindset that you have to see that your brother had been promoted into sales.
Yeah.
Was probably a big drive too, because
Yep.
for you it was like, hold on, I'm not only I'm going to equal you, I'm going to pass you as soon as I'm in.
I'm a very competitive person. Yeah. With everything in my life. I don't like losing at I don't like losing in real estate. I don't like losing at anything. Whatever I do, I want to win. Yeah.
That's nice. Now, let's go a little bit into the office environment. You don't know any other real estate office environments,
No.
but you've been hanging around other teams. You've
Yep.
visited other offices, with me or without me.
Yep.
So what do you think about our office environment? What is it that we excel at? Shit, it's taking long. Maybe it's not so good.
No, I'm trying to figure out how to word it. I would say what we excel at is, how do I word this? We each, I guess, maybe for me at least, I'm kind of pushed because I believe we all should be at a certain level. And I think to a degree we kind of hold ourselves accountable. So Stephen, good example, me and Stephen started similar times. He started right after me. So we've kind of gone together to a degree in our career. He was a listing agent before I was, but to a degree we've kind of gone through this journey together. If I saw he listed 4 properties for the month, okay, that's the bar. I have to list 4 properties for this month. Or if he's on X amount of dollars for the quarter, okay, I have to be on X amount of dollars for the quarter because we have a standard that we hold in the business for each other. I think that was one. But the caveat to that is that it's done with good culture. It's not done out of, hey, I want to beat Stephen because I want to beat Stephen. It's done out of, wow, if Stephen could do that, I can do that, and we're going to do this together.
Yes.
And that was one thing I think we really excelled at, was that it wasn't many, I'm not going to name names, but there are offices out there where I felt it was very, I don't know if sharky's the right word, but it was, I'm going to trip you so I can step further forward.
Yes.
I think in our office, it's, we're going to step further forward. And if you're a step ahead of me, I'm going to use that to excel myself. And when I'm a step ahead of you, I'm going to pull you with me.
Well, that's nice. That's a bit of a culture of teamwork. So here's a negative questions.
Yep.
If you answer negatively, we'll talk.
Okay.
But so what do you think the office could do better?
Oh,
I told you I'm going to push the
you
conversation
are gonna push.
a little bit deeper.
Yeah. I think one thing that I've kind of learnt a little bit of lately with this broken leg is kind of the power of physically being together in an office. Because of how our office is set up, where we have Barara, Wyoming and Killarney Vale, naturally we're all quite separated. Yes, we keep in touch with the WhatsApp group and we're talking to each other all day, every day. But when I broke my leg, I made the call of, hey, I can't door knock right now, which I do door knock well more than I kind of phone prospect. But if I can't door knock right now, I want to be with the other guys. I want to be at Wyoming, where if I was at Killarney Vale at that time, we didn't have another agent out there, so it was just going to be myself. I want to be at Wyoming where Stephen, Nathan, Dino was a bit of time. We had 2 new hires there as well, Andy and Ryan as well. I want to be with them because the energy of that would help pick me up a little bit. I think that's probably one thing that, and it's kind of hard to do because of how spread out our office is, but maybe the energy, oh, jeez, bumped your TV screen there. Maybe the energy of all being together physically,
Right.
I think would help with culture and help with energy.
Okay. So it's been you've been in sales now for the last 2 years.
Yep.
And you have gone leaps and bounds. There's no doubt about it that the fact that I put you in sales at the right time, you went in and straight away from the very first month, it was straight away big results.
Yep.
So it's fine to talk about like your achievements now, but what are your current challenges?
I would say right now I'm on a bit of a self-development journey.
Yes.
And if we're being completely honest, I'm a little bit of an open book. So to everyone out there, I'm coming to the realization of young 22-year-old kid, right? Like I know I have a lot to learn, but I'm trying to learn to be a little bit less selfless right now, because I found that if I'm being completely honest, if there wasn't something in it for me at some point, sometimes I wouldn't do it, or I would do it, but I would do it with kind of this negative mindset. I'm kind of learning to open myself up a little bit now. That's my self-development journey right now, is my selflessness. Yeah.
Right. I mean, there's no problem with like, a young child, a young person like you trying to achieve goals. I mean,
Yeah.
You own a house.
Yes.
You have brand new motorbikes. Each quarter you get yourself like something new about the bike. You've got boots that are probably more expensive than some of these guys in their cars got, So there's no problem with someone to be ambitious, but why do you think you need to be selfless?
Because the team. So at the end of the day, we only have, like, if the world went tomorrow and the apocalypse happened and the dollar was meant nothing anymore and we had to just survive, it would come down to who would you have around you. It wouldn't necessarily be the dollars in your bank account. Or if I had something tragic happen with my diabetes tomorrow and my health went down, it would be about then who's around me, not necessarily the dollars I had in my account. And that's a realization I'm only coming to quite probably realistically in the last maybe month, in the last couple of weeks. It's been a realization for me. So
yeah,
it's very good timing for this interview right now.
Yes. Yeah. And so how do you think you will work on the degree of what is it?
Of selflessness?
Yes.
I think, as much as sometimes I don't want to hear this, because to everyone out there, I'm not the biggest reader, but I just need to read more. I need to learn more. You don't know what you don't know. And I said before, if you want to be the best Formula One driver, you need to go learn from, right now it's Max Verstappen. If you want to be the most selfless person, I need to find that person to learn from, and I believe that's you. I believe what you do for this brand and for this culture and for your team and what you've done for me and my family is something that most people would never do. So maybe I need to spend a bit more time around you and listen to certain lessons that you teach me that maybe sometimes I didn't want to accept or I didn't want to hear, I didn't want to listen. Maybe it's time for me to sit down and do a bit of reflecting on that.
That's quite nice. So what you're trying to say is that you've learned a lot about skill.
Yeah.
And there's no doubt that anyone listening to this will know that your mindset is of the Richter scale.
Yeah.
But that really to have a balanced life, you have to do all three SMS.
Yes.
Skill is one, mindset is the other one, and now it's self,
Yep.
where you need to... Because the moment you work on yourself, you will actually remove that lid,
Yeah.
which allows the other two to really
So rise.
grow even higher, you know?
Yep.
And in life, it's about a balance of all three. Yes? So if I was to ask you now to give brand new people,
Okay.
so sometimes salespeople or sometimes an assistant, what would be the 3 pieces of advice you would give them at the beginning of their career?
Have a goal. That'd be number one. If you have a goal, but not just any goal, if you have a goal that you really believe in and that you have unwavering conviction towards that, I want this and I will not stop until I get this, everything else is nothing. Like going and knocking on 150 doors a day, not even knocking on 150 doors because maybe 1 in 5 might pick up, but speaking to 150 people a day is nothing because I have this goal that I want. So I think that's the biggest thing you need to have is a goal. Once you have a goal, then, like I said before, have your mentor or have your person that you follow. If it's Max Verstappen, if it's a Formula One driver, if it's sales, for me it was you and it was Cam. And what you guys did, although sometimes I didn't really want to listen to it.
Yep.
And again, you're probably going to stick the phone in my face one day when you told me to do something. I say, I don't want to do it. And you're going to show me this clip and I'm going to say, do what your leaders tell you, but find someone that's done what you want to do and do what they say. But you say it very well of when we talk about truth in our office and that we tell the truth. Truth isn't A, B, C and you tell me, or you do A, B and you forget C. Or you have A, B, C and you do C, B, A, or you do B, C, A, you do A, B, C.
Yes.
That would be it. If you told me to do something, I can only pick half of it to do because I don't like the other half, then I'm not doing the right thing, which I've been guilty of in the past. You guys tell me to do something and I go, oh, I don't want to do this. I'll do that bit. But really doing everything that your leaders tell you to do, because you just need to have trust that they have your best interests at heart. And probably my third point would be train. Train would be it. So we spoke a little bit about that SMS mindset. I don't know if I can comment too much on mindset because I don't think I'm a mindset expert. I would say I have a good mindset, but I also have days where I don't have a good mindset. But I think that's everyone. I'm a big believer of that. It's not necessarily what happens to you. It's how you react to it, right? So I have my bad days, but it's how I bounce back from those bad days. But self is something that I now need to start this sort of development journey on. But on the training sense, something that I can talk about is skill. So training your skill, because your skill will be what takes you to that kind of next step in your career of becoming a sales agent. Yes, you need to have your mindset and yourself there too. But at the end of the day, you can't do those. You can't become a listing agent. If you have the best self in the world and the best mindset, if you don't have the skill to list or the skill to sell, you can't be a listing agent. So that's something that's quantifiable that we can measure is if you come in and you train every single day for an hour and you study that book for a day and you know those scripts, that's the starting block. It's like when we talk about your 7% for your words and then your intonation and your body language is much more than that. You need to start with your skill to know. So those would be my 3 would be goal, do what your leaders say, and train.
Yeah. Would you say that from day one I've been very transparent with you? I've told you that one of these days you're going to have your own show.
Absolutely.
And one of these days I'm going to ask you to even do bigger stuff than your own show.
Yep.
So you've been in sales now for about 2.5 years.
Yep.
You've done assistant jobs beforehand. Would you say that I'm actually giving you a bit of a game by teaching you now about selflessness? Because if you have selflessness, you can now run a team.
Yeah.
Yes. and that therefore I'm already starting to groom you for that next level.
Yep.
You understood that already?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's go through these three pieces of advice again. 1 is to have a goal.
Yep.
2 is to have a mentor.
Yep.
And 3 is to train.
Yes.
Okay. What about the impatience mindset?
We spoke about this quite recently. We did. We did because I was getting a bit impatient with my broken leg because they told me 8 weeks, no weight. Your foot wouldn't touch the floor for 8 weeks. And I said, well, that's not happening. So I'm going to do whatever I got to do to change that. And for my 8-week appointment, I walked into the doctor's office last week. That was my 8-week mark. In 9 weeks this week, I walked into your office with no crutches. My mindset around impatience, which is funny because we talk about Erin, my partner, she's the complete opposite. She's very, very patient.
Yep.
And funny because we have different opinions on this. But if I want this water bottle that's sitting in front of me, if I can reach out and grab this water bottle, why would I wait for it? Because I can grab it. And maybe that's where I need to do a bit of work on this, on the self, because maybe that's selfish that I reach out and I grab that water bottle because I can and because I want it. But what we spoke about is patience is there's a reason I can't grab this water bottle because it might impact me or someone else in a negative way. And the patience is knowing that I can grab it, but if I grab it now, it will negatively impact some aspect of my life. So I purposely don't grab it now, wait for the right time to grab it, so it won't do that.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
So that kind of put it quite poetically, I thought, Thomas, when we spoke about that probably a week ago, 2 weeks ago.
Yes. Yeah. You've done very well, mate. So this gets me to the end of the interview, but I want to ask you now a question I ask everyone, which is, how do you know you're leading an inspiring life, Kane?
Maybe that's something I need to delve in a little bit deeper on as well, because I'm on this, again, I'm just starting this journey of selflessness in the last 4 weeks, and that's something that I haven't really delved into because young guy, right? Yes, I've set all these goals for myself and I've achieved a couple of these goals, but I think there's many more people out there that you can ask that are probably better to answer that question than me. Right now, I think...
As a matter of fact, everyone wants to live a good life. An inspiring
I would
life,
agree
right?
with that, yeah.
So I would say that somehow, maybe at the level you're at, and I think that you need to not be humble about it, but how would you know at the end of your day, someone will look at you and say, wow, he's leading a very inspiring life?
I would say being true to yourself. So it's all well and good if I can go make $10 million in a year and say that's an inspiring life, but if I made $10 million a year and I hated my life and I hated my job and I didn't enjoy anything in my life, what's that money going to do for me? Because I spend 365 days of the year working, I have all this money in the bank, but I can't do anything with it. So maybe it's more than just the dollar figures, which is something that I probably can't answer yet, but maybe it's something along the lines of, maybe for me right now, if you were to ask me what would be an inspired life for me right now, would be kind of achieving these goals. I have a goal, and this goal is my purpose, and if I achieve this goal, then my purpose for that 6 months of my life has been fulfilled. Maybe that's my answer for now, but would that be my answer in 15 years' time when I have 2 or 3 kids and me and my partner are married and we have this life set out for ourselves? Maybe not. Maybe at that point, my answer for what would be a fulfilled life would be instilling the values in my kids to lead them to a good life. But for now, I'm at a stage in my life and my career where purpose for me is in these goals and achieving things that I set out to achieve.
Wow. Mate, I think it's a great answer. Listen, man, I thank you so much for the podcast, for your time.
Thank you.
And I really thank you very much for inspiring a lot of us.
Oh, thank you. I think, I don't even know if I'm the one to inspire people, because I get inspired by other people. So maybe people need to listen to you a bit more, because I wake up every day and what inspires me has been you. Because, and my dad to a degree, because you took a famous story within our network, and I'll shame Dad here a little bit. Dad, when he first started Wisebury, he went and did one of your seminars,
yes,
and he slept in a tent.
Yes.
because he didn't have enough money. We didn't have enough money for a hotel room at that time.
Yeah.
And then I don't even know however many years it was later. Within a certain amount of years, he went and bought 40 acres for us to live on, and now does quite well for himself. So,
I mean, how many people can afford to have a car and not drive?
speaking of, he put a dent in his other car.
No,
yeah, he did.
How did he do that?
He just bought a caravan, and day one, he's going to hate that I tell you this, but day one he bought the caravan, he's reversing the caravan, and he dints the quarter panel. So he's doing all right for himself. So he can have two cars and dint one of them, and just don't worry about that one. I got the other one.
So the Lexus?
No, not the Lexus. No, he's what is it, like a Pajero?
Oh yes.
Yeah, like one of the newer Pajeros. Yeah.
Oh well, that's cool. So sorry, mate. Going back, so your father was doing the
Yeah,
he was sleeping in a tent.
He was sleeping in a tent.
I remember on the beach.
Yep.
When he attended his first seminar.
Yeah. So as much as I love my dad, sometimes we butt heads, but I love my dad more than anything in the world, and I look up to my dad. And my dad started his office when I was, I think, 8 years old. So I was kind of old enough to understand a little bit what we were going through. I knew what money was at that point. I knew that, from my understanding, more money equals good at that point in my life.
Very good.
And Dad took the plunge and went out and opened up his own real estate office, and he really wanted to. He'd always kind of spoken about you and about Synergy at the time, and what you had done for him, and he really wanted to go do this seminar, and we didn't have enough money for the hotel room, so Dad, I think it was in Gold Coast?
Yes,
yeah.
Correct, yep.
Dad either flew up or I think he drove up to the Gold Coast and didn't have enough money for a hotel room, so he slept in a tent on the side of the road or on a beach or something like that, because he just really wanted to go to the seminar and learn. And then he took the plunge and opened up his own office, and then now to see what that's done. And I remember there was one point when I was a kid and I knew we were doing it a little bit tight for money, nowhere near as bad as some people out there, not trying to say like I've had the worst upbringing in the world, but I knew we'd taken a step back financially from when Dad was a real estate agent at a different office. And we went from, eating like nice foods every night to all of a sudden it was mince and sausages every night because they were cheaper at Coles. And I had my pocket money, and I walked up to Dad one day when he came home from work, and I took out my wallet at 8 or 9 years old, and I gave him the only $5 bill I had in my wallet because I thought that was going to be enough money for us to have food for the week. So going from that to where I knew we were financially struggling to seeing where my dad's at now, where my family's at now, by no means are we rich, I would say, but Dad does well for himself, and I've seen what Dad's hard work can do, because I never had my dad on the weekends, did rarely. I went and played cricket every weekend, and Mum would drive me to cricket because Dad was out doing open homes. So for me to go knock on $150 a day isn't much when I watched my dad go through that, and my dad start his own office, and his business partner Rod, who his daughter's quite severely disabled, and him have to take that plunge as well, not only with 4 kids, but one of them severely disabled. So for me to go out and knock on $150 a day and sell a couple of houses and use that money to buy a motorbike is happy days. It's not really much for me.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Nice. That's nice. Thank you very much for today.
That's all right. Thank you.
All right.
You.
We'll do it again, but
Yep.
I probably would like to do one with Erin
With
and
Erin.
yourself together.
I don't know. She'd be a bit camera shy, so she's very selfless. She I don't think she likes the spotlight, but she's an incredible woman. A very incredible woman, yeah.
It's not about a spotlight. I think it's about sharing what we're going through and the experience that we have lived, so that maybe can benefit others.
Yeah.
And knowing what Erin's done in her life, and I know how much of a selflessness is in her blood.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that would be a great gem to share with others.
Yeah, I've learned a lot from Erin. So for people that don't know, she's actually a few years older than me. So I'm 22, she's 28, not to speak on a lady's age, but so she's 6 years older than me.
Yes.
So she, even though 6 years wouldn't be considered a lot of time, like if there was someone that was 40 and 46, that wouldn't be considered a massive difference. But for our stage in our lives, in our 20s, she's taught me a lot in that sort of aspect of being selfless. But in a way, we click so well because I would consider us to be at a very similar stage of our life. But she's opened my eyes up a lot and taught me a lot. I think she's someone that a lot of people can learn from for sure.
Thanks, Kane.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Thank you, man. See ya.
Thank you. Bye.